Hi there. I'm Patricia McGuire, and I'm a judge and family court judge in Multnomah County Court. I want to give you some important information from a judge's perspective. First, you need to be realistic about what a judge can do for your family. I'm a stranger to your family. I don't know your kids. I don't know how you created your family. I don't know the history of your family. You know that better than I do. I don't know your kids, and I will never meet your kids. So it's important to know that you and your ex are the people who know your family the best, and you're the people who are the most well-suited to figure out what is the best parenting plan that works for your kids and works for you. Okay? I don't know the level of conflict in your family. As I said, I don't know the history of your family. I don't know the length of time you've been together. I don't know about your extended family network. I don't know what your holidays schedules are. And I don't know what kind of things you like to do during the summers. Those are the things that you know best. And those are the things that you can, with a mediator, you can create a family plan that will work best for your family. If you can't come up with an agreement through mediation, through attorneys, or through some other resources, the court's here, and I can help you come up with a plan. But you have to understand that I'm going to be coming up with a plan based on really 3 or 6 hours of court time. And so I will do my best, but again, I'm not the person who is perfectly situated to come up with your parenting plan. The two parents are. So some important considerations that you should think about before you go to trial. So first of all, turning over a decision about custody and parenting time to a judge can be difficult on the parents. You have loss of control over important decisions. There's stress and delay and uncertainty about what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. And there's stress around the financial costs. You may have to take time off of work to attend hearings. You may have to take additional time off of work if your hearing doesn't get completed in the time that's set for it. And that would cause some additional delay and uncertainty for your family. It's also difficult for the kids. Kids often regress when they're involved in litigation, in family litigation. Children are impacted by the knowledge that their parents can't make decisions about their lives. And often when you have a very high conflict or high stress situation, the kids can get pulled into that conflict, either overtly by a parent or by what we call a loyalty bind, where they believe sometimes that they need to stick up for or be on one parent's side or another. Those are often really, really difficult situations for children to be in. And that's what can happen when you're in family court litigation. So I want to give you first some information about custody, okay? You're going to be here today to talk about custody, and then you're going to talk about parenting time. Custody is different than parenting time. Custody is really who is the person who decides where your kids go to school, who their medical providers are, and what their routine medical care will be. Custody is separate from parenting time. Very often your kids don't know who the custodial parent is. They just want to know, when am I going to see one parent and when am I going to see the other parent? That's parenting time. So when we talk about custody, there's 6 factors that the court will look at to determine custody. The first factor is who's been the primary caretaker of the kids. The second factor is which parent is more likely to encourage a relationship between the children and the other parent. Another factor is whether there's been abuse by one parent of another. Another factor is the emotional ties between the child and other family members. The 5th factor is the interest of the parties in and their attitude towards the children. And the last factor is the desirability of continuing a relationship. Those are the factors that the court's going to look at when they're determining who should be the custodial parent. Okay? There's 2 types of custody. There's joint custody and there's sole custody. Joint custody is something that the court can't order. The two parents have to agree to joint custody. And what joint custody means is the two parents are going to work together to make decisions. That's joint decision making. That is not equal parenting time. As I said, custody is different from parenting time. Joint custody works best when you and your ex are able to communicate well with each other. You're able to resolve your differences and your conflict about your kids easily. And you're able, each of you, to put your children's needs before your own. If those characteristics are in your relationship between you and your ex, then joint custody might be a really good option for you. If they are not, then joint custody may not be the thing that's good for you or your family. If the two of you can't agree on joint custody, then a judge will need to determine who is the custodial parent, or you'll need to agree on who will be the custodial parent. And as I said, the factors that the court looks at are those 6 factors that I talked about before. But very often it's clear from the arrangements that you've made historically who's been the primary caretaker for the kids. And that's a very big factor in determining who would be the best custodial parent. Those factors, as I said, are based on what's historically happened in your relationship. And so you're not going to be able to change history based on what's happened here in the last 6 months or year that's happened since you split. So you need to look very closely to see whether custody is a battle that you really want to fight. Very often, it's clear who would be the custodial parent, and if that's the case, maybe you want to spend your time coming up with a parenting plan that will maximize the time that you get to spend with your child. So when we're talking about custody and some of the myths about custody, being the custodial parent does not mean that you get to move away because you want to. Once you have a child with somebody, you need to stay within 60 miles of each other unless the other parent agrees that you can move or the court allows you to move. So you can't just get up and move with your kids and you feel like it. The other thing is, you can't withhold parenting time simply because you're the custodial parent. You can't withhold parenting time because you don't like what may be happening in the other parent's house, or you don't like the other parent's new partner. Custody doesn't allow you to do those things either. And the last thing is, being the custodial parent does not mean that you get to impose rules about how the other parent exercises their parenting time. Okay? So I hope it cleared up some of the issues or some of the questions that you might have about where you are in this process. I would prefer not to see you in court. I would really prefer not to see you in court. I'm happy to help you if I need to, but again, I'm only going to hear about 3 hours worth of testimony about your family, and I'm going to have to make a decision based on that limited information, when you are really the best people who could make the decision about what's going to be best for your children and what's going to be best for your family. We talked a little bit about the downsides to litigation. I know a lot of people want to have what they call their day in court, but your day in court is not what it's like on TV. As I said, your day in court involves a lot of stress. It involves time to prepare, and it involves taking time off of work and away from your other responsibilities to be in court. And it's also a really stressful experience. It's stressful on you, and it's stressful on your children. So if you can, it's best for you to avoid having a day in court. Your first session of mediation is mandatory. You don't have to reach an agreement, but you do have to show up and you do have to participate in good faith. However, you're not limited to one session. You can always come back for future sessions. And in fact, many people do come back when they get closer to a trial date if they haven't reached an agreement or if things have changed. Now, the second session or any future sessions, that's not mandatory. Both parties have to agree to come. But the court's happy to order a mediation order for you if you'd like one, or you can simply call Family Court Services and set up a mediation appointment.